With us now in studio, General Manager and Executive Vice President Nick Caserio. Nick, how's it going? Great to see you.
Fellas, good to be here.
All right, here we are. It's week 4, and what's your assessment of the situation, trying to learn from what happened in week 3 and move on to play Tennessee?
Yeah, the big thing, and we talked about this last week, is just our ability to finish games. So we've had opportunities in all 3 games, and in the fourth quarter, we just haven't done enough collectively as a team. So there's things that are certainly fixable and correctable, and if we can just make some incremental progress in those areas, the big thing from the other day, really the takeaways in the fourth quarter in the scoring zone, those are, potential. They're massive plays, and until we get it fixed, it's really not going to change. So, that's kind of where we are as a team. So another opportunity in front of us against Tennessee, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. They certainly present challenges. The big thing is for us to focus on the things that we're doing and see if we can make some improvements in some of the areas where we're a little bit deficient right now.
Nick, defensively, there was the 58-yard drive to the missed field goal, but then pretty much after that, it wasn't until really Brian Thomas gets that 46-yarder at the end where they really had kind of a breakthrough, and you played without Sting. Sting's not in the ball game at that point. Defensively, what did you see this week against Jacksonville that you liked?
Yeah, hung in there. Did a fairly good job in the running game. We talked about before the game going in, this is one of the best rushing teams in the league, and they had a few runs that popped through there for maybe 8 to 10 yards, but for the most part, we're able to keep them kind of in longer yardage situations. The front played well in the running game. It was the first game that Tommy, Togiai was active, so he did a pretty good job in there. The whole front, Tim played better than he did a week before. Tommy went in there and gave us some quality snaps, so kind of handled the running game, and we were able to get, some pressure on the quarterback. Limited the big plays really until the end there. I think the big thing were just the penalties. Those are some of the things on third down, and then third down in the red area, third down in the end zone leads to scoring plays. So the handful of plays really in each phase, if we can fix those and make those a little bit better in our favor, then the result potentially will be better than what it's been.
We were talking with Coach about Tommy a bit, Tommy Togiai, and what goes into the decisions, barring injury, of course, to who sits and who plays? How are those decisions made?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's week to week. So really looking at, we know we have to make X number of players inactive each week. So what do we need to do that week? What do we think makes the most sense? Some players kind of take care of themselves because of the injuries, or Mertz is the third quarterback, and then there's other positions where we're going to have some players that aren't playing. It's never an easy thing to do. Haven't been in that position as a coach to tell a player that you're not playing this week after they go through the whole week. It's not easy to do. It's a difficult conversation, but it's all you can do is be honest, and the responsibility of the player is to just understand it, internalize it, and then flip the page in the next week and do everything in your power, and then ultimately whatever decisions we make on game day, we feel are best for that game and the team.
Nick, we know there's not a real easy one-sentence answer to how does the offense continue to move along? How does it continue to improve? What are some of the things that you'd like to see offensively start to take place to really kind of move it along like you'd like?
Yeah, taking care of the football is of the utmost importance. And then some of the penalties, whether it's pre-snap or post-snap, first down plays get called back because of holding, because of face masks, those other things, and you're in second and long, and then you end up being in third and long. So which, if we're better on first and second down, that hopefully help us on third down, which right now we're not very good. We're the last team in the league on third down. So, it's certainly something that we have to get fixed and we have to address. So it's just being a little bit more consistent, eliminating some of those plays that we can control, which D'Amico has talked to the team about. So hopefully we can get those fixed. If we don't get those fixed, then we're going to see the same results. So I think that would help us overall and take advantage of our opportunities when they're there for an explosive play or a +10 play or whatever it is, which those plays lead to scoring.
How about the running game specifically? We're seeing some production, but I know you want to see a whole lot more. So what's it going to take to get there?
Some of it's been volume. When you look at the number of plays, going back to the Tampa game, we ran 46, 47 plays. And then the other day, we ran however many plays. We're in a number of long yardage situations, so you got to pick your spots. So we had a couple runs that popped there. CJ, the one thing that he's done, he's made some plays outside of the pocket with his feet in running situations. The throw's not there, then there's an alley or an escape way, then he's able to get positive yards. So those are certainly encouraging. So I think it's really more of volume and just trying to take advantage of the 4, 5, 6 yard runs.
Nick, Laken and Juice were rotated a little bit at guard. What did you see from Juice? Juice hadn't played the first couple of games, but what did you see from him against the Jags?
No, he went in there and he played well. So Juice has worked really hard. He's certainly improved. We've asked him to do a number of different things: play center, play left guard, play right guard. Hasn't really batted an eye. He's gone in there and he's improved. So that's all you're looking for with players is some level of improvement. Juice took advantage of his opportunities. We felt that was something that made sense for us to do, and Juice earned those opportunities. I mean, Laken's given us some good snaps as well. So at some point, if we have to declare like one player over the other, then if that we feel that's appropriate, then we will. But we felt that was something that Juice had earned. He went in there and played certain competitively with his snaps.
CJ and passing game production, is it because of the penalties? Is it because of you mentioned first and second down effectiveness, a combination of things?
Yeah, it's a combination of everything, Mark. So it's never one particular thing. So whether it's the route, whether it's the coverage, whether it's the call doesn't match up with the coverage that they're playing. So we just have to be, I think, one of the things that, we did a decent job of in the game. We had a couple up-tempo plays, and that led to some positive plays or positive completions. So whether or not that's applicable for Tennessee this week, you really don't know that. I mean, that's part of what the coaches will do and go through the game plan and figure out what makes sense. So it's timing, it's execution, and it's just taking advantage of the plays that are there, which certainly were some plays that fell into that category on Sunday.
Nick, as you get ready for a game, and I'm thinking about the plays after the long catch by Brian Thomas Jr., you get into really a situation, basically, where there are all kinds of things that can happen at the end of a game. How often and how much do you guys talk about the different ones that could be available? I always remember the one when you guys were in New England, you played Denver that Monday night, and you snapped it off the upright so that you could move out of there and punt it. Gave them 2 points, gave them a 3-point lead. How often do you kind of go through all the different types of situations you could possibly see?
Yeah, you really don't know which ones are going to come up during the course of the game. I mean, kind of the standard ones, end of half, 2 minute,
right,
end of game situation in some capacity, whether it's 2 minute, whether it's 4 minute. And if there's something outside of that, then you just kind of take inventory of where you are in the game, what's going on, and what's the right play to make.
Yep.
Going back to that snap, I remember that play pretty vividly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a pretty raucous environment, and it was just if we were able to get the ball back, which we were able to do,
right,
then led to a scoring drive. So every situation, every game's going to be different. The situations that came up week 3 might not come up week 4. Right. Situations that come up week 1, they might not come up until week 16 or 17. You really never know. So big thing is just making sure the players have an understanding and awareness of what's expected. Listen to Goff talk about their game last night, when he was gesturing for Montgomery to get down, but then he scored. Right. And then after the game, he's like, well, no, we wanted to score. So, the players are trying to figure out what's going on as well. And you're just trying to make sure that you're taking advantage of the situation and making the right decision. And whatever happens in the game, then you just go back and say, all right, what happened? All right, will we do anything different? Okay, well, if we did, let's try this, whatever that may be. It's really week to week, and then you kind of look around the league and see things that have popped up. I mean, which this week there were non-offensive touchdowns or plays, blocked field goals, kickoff returns for touchdowns, punt returns for touchdowns. So we've had them in our games, looking at other teams and watching other opponents. I mean, they pop up seemingly at different points. So you really never know what's going to happen. You just want to make sure that you're as prepared as you can be.
Yeah.
What about keeping the guys loose and free, yet fully focused and locked in on what needs to be done, play to play? So you have to sort of balance that out, don't you?
Yeah, good plays lead to good football, lead to good enthusiasm, and you're happier when you have good plays. So, but you really have to focus on that particular play. What's your assignment? Do we execute the play? Then after that play, go on to the next situation, go on to the next play. What do we need to do on this call? What's relevant and what's not? So you keep it moving. You have to keep it moving. And you just want to string together as many positive plays as possible, understanding the opponent's going to make plays. I mean, there's good players on every team. There's good players on each side of the ball. They're going to make plays. We're going to make plays. The hope is that we make more than the other team.
And the other team this week is the Tennessee Titans, a team like last week. We know them pretty well. The name should sound pretty familiar for the most part. Let's get into the scouting report, Nick. I know everybody wants to hear about the Titans.
Yeah, sure. Similar to Jacksonville in some situations, they have a number of players that we've played against previous years, but they've also made some changes and modifications as well. I mean, the big change they made kind of on leadership, front office structure with bringing over, Morganzi from Kansas City, who he's done a great job. I mean, a lot of respect for him and the time that he was in Cincinnati. They kind of reshaped their structure there between him. Chad Brinker, they brought Dave Ziegler over as well. Offensively, Coach Callahan, he's the head coach / play caller, offensive coordinator. His dad is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league, so they do a good job schematically. And the defensive side of the ball, Denard did a good job in his first year. They present significant amount of issues defensively. I mean, offensively, probably the biggest change they made, obviously, was a quarterback, drafting Cam overall. Really talented player. Live arm, really athletic. He's made some wild plays. He's had a number of positive plays and played the week 1 in a hostile environment and actually held his own. So, new quarterback, changed out some receivers. Ridley is one of the best receivers in the league, and then drafted, kid from Stanford, Elick. DK, they drafted him in the 4th round as well. Signed Lockett, drafted Gunnar Helm. Chig, who's an explosive playmaker. We saw that in our game when he took a, nothing play for 70 yards. And Pollard's one of the best all-around back, high-volume player. It seems like they solidified kind of on a group on the offensive line. And defensively, everything starts with Jeffrey. He's one of the best players in the league, not one of the best defensive players, but he literally is one of the best players in the league. So strong front, made some changes on the perimeter, signed a Draymond Jones, drafted Femi out of UCLA in the 2nd round. So they have a big, strong, long, physical front. They just put Sweat on IR, so they got to have to juggle the inside of it. Inside linebacker signed Barton, who's been a 100-plus tackler over the last 3 or 4 seasons, wherever he's been, very instinctive player. Cedric Gray, who they drafted last year in the 4th round, who's kind of emerged as kind of one of their, looks like, leaders on defense, really productive in the preseason. Signed Hooker to an offseason extension, who's a good player. Signed Xavier Woods, who's a very experienced, very instinctive player. And their top 3 secondary players, McCrary, Brownlee, and Snead, kind of carry over. Now they've had some injuries that have affected who's in there, who's out of there. But very formidable defensively, and then special teams, and making the change with Bones. Coach Fossil, he's an exceptional special teams coach, very aggressive coach, and he's got his punter that he had when he was with the Rams and Hecker, and then Joey Sly's kicking for him. So Joey's got a really strong leg. So. Good team. They've been competitive in really all 3 games. Kind of went down to the 4th quarter against Denver. In the second half, they were kind of going neck and neck with the Rams. And this week, the game kind of got out of hand. It was late in the game, but they were competitive against, undefeated Colts team. So you have to understand what the challenges are. They certainly present them, what the issues are, and just make sure that we get those fixed.
With Cam Ward, when you look at a young quarterback like that, number 1 overall pick, is there a great deal of unknown as far as what the potential can be? You have to go back to college. There's this element of mystery, really. He might pull out a big play out of nowhere.
Look at what you have. He played decent amount in the preseason. So between the preseason and the first 3 games here in the regular season, and if you want to go back and watch some of the stuff from Miami, really more about the player and his skills more than anything else. When you're studying the player within the scheme, you're looking at specific to what is Tennessee doing. What have they done with some of the other quarterbacks? There's some things that carry over they did with Will last year or not. So it's a kind of a combination of things. So all we can go off of is what we see, and then just try to extrapolate based on what he's done in those games.
Nick, with Cam Ward, he starts at Incarnate Word. He goes to Washington State. Then he goes to Miami. I would imagine those are 3 different area scouts that are looking at him as you're getting ready for the draft. And it wasn't as if we were going to draft Cam Ward, but a player like that, because those are happening more often in college football.
Sure.
How do you handle that where you've got one area scout that's looked at him for a year, maybe 2, you got another area scout that's looked at him for a year? How do you kind of bridge that together to come to a consensus report?
Yeah, no, you pool all the information. So whatever he did in Incarnate Word, that's one body of work or report. And then there's a little bit more Washington State. I probably started when he was at Washington State, watched some of the tape out of Washington State, and then obviously you saw him at Miami last year, who they had a number of prospects. So you kind of pool it all together. trying to see what information matches up, what's consistent from a background standpoint, and how they play. Have they improved as a player? Where have they improved? He's been a little bit better, maybe this system relative to another. So you're putting all that information together. He played really well for Miami last year. I mean, he was one of the reasons they had the season that they had. So you're taking all the information, you're kind of consolidating it into one profile of the player, regardless of where it's coming from, regardless of how many stops, which to your point, Johnny, they're seeing more and more of that in college football.
Do you deploy your scouts to all sorts of games? In other words, if there's an SEC team playing a FCS team or a lower level D1 type team, is it, wait for the next one, wait till they play another SEC team? How do you handle those things?
It depends what you need to get done from an exposure standpoint. If you want to treat the game as your practice exposure, you're not necessarily concerned with the opponent, that's one thing. If you want to see them play against the best competition, then you'll try to match it up with Miami versus whoever the best competition is on their schedule. So it's all a matter of what are you trying to kind of figure out, what's the goal for that exposure. All are a little bit different. I would say typically you want to see a guy practice and then play live and then try to piece it all together. Sometimes the restrictions are in a situation where you only going to see 3 or 4 periods, whatever the rules are, no problem. We'll get the exposure at a game because there's less restrictions, if you will. So it's whatever works for that individual. Typically, you're going to have probably 3 or 4 different people, area scout, over the top, director, and then maybe somebody else getting exposure. It all might be different exposures, and the mechanism to do it is going to be specific to what the individual needs to get done relative to his workload.
Nick, you talked about Sweat going on IR. When Sweat and Simmons are in there together, it feels like it's kind of the perfect pairing because Simmons can kind of wreck shop and Tavondre can, sit and hold up against blocks. No Sweat, but there is a Simmons. How do you think they go about the interior for them, and how problematic is it for them without Sweat?
Yeah, they still have some number of good players on the inside of the structure. Yeah. So, however, they're going to set up the front. They got a bunch of big guys on the line of scrimmage, so you're going to have to block them. And they've gotten some snaps from Lynch. Jeffrey kind of moves around in front a little bit. Draymond can go inside. They got some guys that can kind of play. There's a multiplicity of roles there. So, a lot of it is just understanding the player and the personnel. What are his strengths? What are some of the things that he struggles with? And if there's something specific with a particular play that you need to focus on, then you want to make sure that you get that addressed.
Yep. The offensive line, I know you want to see the finished product and everything work out smoothly, but it is a learning curve, right? We talked about this during the regular season where it takes a few games to get everything to sort of gel together. Can you sort of give us an update as to how that's going, and just inside the ropes, if you will, what you're seeing and the development of them?
Yeah, the more time on task you have, the better it is. And we've had some moving parts for a myriad of reasons, injuries, what happened week 1. Ed gets hurt on Thursday, so then we had to make an adjustment for the Rams game, which we did. And then following week, Jake gets hurt, so then JP had to go in there and play center. So whoever's available, number 1, who's available, number 2, then, all right, what's the best thing for that week? So the more time they can spend together, the communication's been good. They work really hard, so there's always things that we can clean up and improve, not only on offensive line as a team, and that's emblematic of all of us.
Okay.
Nick, on Sunday, Ariante talked about it after the game. He talked about, it was a tough game for me, and I didn't have a great game. He's a rookie. And I started thinking about asking the question, how do you make sure he doesn't lose his confidence? And I thought, when you guys do your study of college players coming to the NFL, is that something that you look for behind the scenes? Like, hey, this guy's not going to get down. He's going to fight through this. He's fought through adversity. We know this guy's not going to lose his confidence if things don't go well. Is that something you guys study or find out as you're going through this? That a guy like Ariante, hey, he's going to get beat by somebody, but he's going to bounce back and be fine.
Yeah, sure. We look at everything.
Yeah.
So, like we talked about a little bit earlier, over the course of a game, the other side of the ball, they're going to have their share of plays. Sure. And Ariante's had some good plays. The fact that he was accountable and said what he said, that speaks to kind of who he is as a person.
Yep.
He cares a lot. He's a good player. Certainly he's a young player. Young players always have the opportunity to improve. They're doing things against different people for the first time.
Yep.
Credit to Jacksonville. We talked about this on a show last week. Hines Allen's one of the best players in the league. A lot of respect for him, the way he plays and his skill set, and he's been doing it against a lot of people for a long time. So every opportunity to play is a learning experience. What are some of the things you can improve? But I would say competitiveness and mental toughness and ability to internalize the information, take the information, process it, and move on to the next opportunity. That's certainly a part of our evaluation without question.
Nick, in your 2.5 decades plus of working in this league, is this the most valuable that special teams has been as a phase of the game? When you look at the returns and guys banging 60-yarders and touchdown returns and all that sort of stuff.
There's more of a heightened, I would say, awareness and focus from, I'd say, more teams. I would say when you look over the course of history, certain teams allocated more resources, more players, more time to that area. I mean, you'd find, some teams just in conversation, well, we didn't spend this much time on a kicking game, whatever the reason. Maybe it's a philosophical thing, but there's certainly a heightened emphasis because every kickoff return opportunity, it's going to be different. Ball could be hit in the end zone, a ball could hit short and then bounce into the end zone, the ball could hit short of the landing zone, the ball could hit in the landing zone, there's going to be some ball handling issues, so there's more plays. I don't know what the actual number is, but it's up significantly relative to previous year. Punt return has always been, okay, protection's important. All right, the gunners and your ability to basically block those players to set up the return has been important. I'd say the fact that there were however many field goal attempts, field goal blocks, I mean, there's more time, and you're seeing some of the best players, some of the team's best players using those areas. I mean, going back to Will, a year or two ago, whatever it was, when he blocked the field goal against Jacksonville, you saw it in the Rams-Eagles game where Jordan Davis, who's a starting defensive tackle, I mean, him and Jalen Carter are right next to each other. So there's your two of your best defensive players on field goal blocks. So it just speaks to whatever you need to do to win the game, whoever's involved in that, like that's your responsibility as a player and a teammate. And the more people that understand that, the better off you're going to be.
Sitting at 0-3, knowing you need a win, Nick, how tough is it to remember your process and the way you go about things and sticking to that, as opposed to we got to get a win and panic and do different things to try and get a win, as opposed to just sticking to, hey, look, stick to your process, make sure you're doing things right. That'll help you get to a win.
Yeah, the bottom line is there's no magic formula or magic solution on any of this. So you got to go through the week. You have to understand the opponent. You have to put the work in. You have to go out there and practice. You have to make the corrections. And ultimately, you have to go out there and execute on Sundays. And if you do those things, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to win. We've given ourselves the opportunity to win really each game. In the end, we've come up short, so nobody really cares. It doesn't matter. All we can control is our preparation and our work for the next week. That's where you have to keep the focus. If you worry about a lot of other things on the periphery, honestly, it's really not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. So focus on the things that you can control, focusing on maybe there's some things that we can do or implement to execute a little bit better, and ultimately we all just got to do a better job collectively as a team.
All right, Nick, guys talk about blocking out the noise, and this has been said in the NFL for a long time. All sports, really, all around the league and other sports as well. What about for you? Because the noise comes to us all, right, on our phones. So what kind of noise do you have on your phone? What kind of apps? What can you share with us, Nick? Because you're a role model for many. So
I don't have many apps.
Do you have any practice blocking out the noise?
I use Spotify quite a bit. I listen to all my podcasts really on Spotify.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm not a big music guy, but, I mean, I'll listen to kind of YouTube music. So a lot of stuff out. I mean, honestly, outside of that, like I'm not really paying attention to too much, so I know I'm kind of bored.
Not on Instagram, scrolling along.
I can't say that I really know too much that's going on there. I'll leave that to my wife and let her focus on that. So I don't really get a lot out of that, so I'll leave that to other people who are a lot smarter than I am.
Smart
Good stuff.
That's wise.
Nick, thanks a lot. Good luck this week.
Thanks, fellas.